The alien patrol ship drifted quietly through the dark space lanes when the distress signal appeared on their screen. Captain Ralvek, a tall gray-skinned officer with 4 shining eyes, frowned as he studied the blinking message. It came from a damaged human cargo ship moving slowly near the border. Humans rarely asked for help, and when they did, something was always wrong. Ralvek felt a deep, uneasy chill in his chest, but he ordered his team to pull the human ship in for inspection. When the 2 ships connected, the airlock door opened with a heavy sound. Warm air washed over the alien team as they stepped inside. The human ship was messy, tools scattered, lights dim, and the smell of burned wires floating in the hall. But none of this worried them as much as the strange feeling they all sensed something alive was watching them. Engineer Mark Holden stood at the end of the hallway with his hands raised peacefully. He looked calm, too calm. Human engineers usually panic during inspections, but this man seemed almost relaxed. Behind him, the shadow of something moved, slow and careful, like it understood it was being observed. Captain Ralvek signaled his team to stay alert. "We are here to help," Ralvek said. "But we must inspect your cargo and your companion." Mark nodded without fear. "You can look," he replied softly. "But don't touch him." The alien soldiers shared a confused look. Him? That meant the creature had identity, personality, maybe intelligence. Pets didn't have identities. They were simple and obedient. So what exactly was inside this damaged ship? Mark stepped aside, and the creature came into view. It sat on the metal floor like a calm child. Its body was slim and smooth, covered in faint silver patterns that looked alive. 2 bright blue eyes glowed softly, reflecting the ship's lights. Its head tilted slightly as it studied the alien soldiers. Quiet, patient, almost polite. It looked harmless at first, but the longer the aliens stared, the more uncomfortable they felt. Its presence carried weight, as if it was more than a living being, something crafted, something advanced. "What is that?" whispered one alien soldier. "A pet," Mark answered with a strange smile, but the creature lifted its gaze directly toward them, and in that moment every alien felt their chest tighten. It wasn't fear of the creature, it was fear of the intelligence they saw behind its eyes. This was no animal. It was thinking, calculating, learning every small detail about them. Captain Ralvek activated his scanner and pointed it toward the creature. The scanner beeped once, then twice, then suddenly shut down with a sharp spark. Smoke rose from the device as if something had overloaded it from the inside. "It broke the scanner?" Ralvek growled. Mark shook his head. "He didn't break anything. He just doesn't like being scanned. It hurts him." The creature made a low sound, soft, like a gentle hum. The air around it seemed to vibrate. The alien stepped back without meaning to. Something invisible was moving around it. A pressure. A strange force that felt like standing near a heavy storm. Ralvek clenched his jaw. This is not a pet. Humans do not hide harmless pets in dark cargo ships. This is a threat. Mark's expression changed. For the first time, he looked serious. "He's not a threat," he said. "Not unless someone tries to hurt him. Or me." The creature shifted, placing itself between Mark and the aliens as if ready to protect him. Its glowing eyes darkened slightly, and the silver lines on its skin pulsed like living circuits. Ralvek felt sweat form on his palms. "Name it," he ordered. "Species, classification, origin." Mark shook his head again. "He doesn't have a species. Not anymore. And no classification fits him. Then where did he come from?" Ralvek demanded. Mark hesitated, just for a second. That second told the aliens everything. Humans were hiding something. "Something big. We found him," Mark said slowly. "Alone, hurt, dying." The creature gazed at him with something like gratitude. Ralvek walked closer, and instantly the creature's glowing eyes sharpened. The air pressure increased. Every alien felt the warning, one more step and something will happen. Ralvik stopped. This thing, he said carefully, should not exist. Mark sighed. I know, but he does. And he trusts humans. You should be grateful for that. The creature rose to its feet, taller than before, its body shimmering with quiet power. It wasn't attacking. It wasn't afraid. It simply stood there, proud and aware, like a soldier waiting for orders. Ralvik stepped back slowly. He now understood one terrifying truth. Humans did not adopt a pet. They rescued something ancient, intelligent and powerful, and whatever this creature was, it was loyal to humanity. That was enough to make any alien panic. Asterisk. The alien patrol ship had barely left the human vessel when the rumors began. A creature with glowing eyes. A being that broke scanners without touching them. A pet that stood like a trained warrior. Every officer who saw it felt the same icy fear. This thing is not natural. They returned to their station pale and silent, refusing to talk about what they had witnessed. But fear had a voice of its own, and it carried through every corridor, every communication channel, every dark corner of the galaxy. By the next rotation, 3 major alien stations had already heard the story. At Station Vorkon 9, Commander Telex replayed the patrol team's shaky footage. The camera shook violently each time the creature looked directly at it. Its eyes glowed brighter, the image distorted, and a strange whispering noise filled the audio, almost like it was communicating through the screen. This is impossible, Telex muttered, rubbing his forehead. No pet can do this. No animal can affect technology like this. His assistant, a young officer with trembling hands, leaned closer. Commander. The humans called it a hymn. A heavy silence fell in the room. Humans never call animals hymn, Telex said quietly. Only people. The assistant swallowed hard. Then what is it, sir? Telex had no answer. Across the galaxy, in the frost-covered palace of the Zarin Empire, Empress Cora listened to her advisors argue among themselves. Some believed the creature was a human bioweapon. Others claimed it was an alien ghost spirit from forbidden space. A few even whispered that humans had unlocked a god. Cora struck her staff against the floor. Enough. Send spies. Find the truth. But even her voice shook. No empire liked surprises, especially not surprises created by humans. Meanwhile, on a small mining colony orbiting a dying star, an old alien trader told his customers a dramatic tale. The creature's eyes burned through metal. He shouted, "One look and your bones begin to melt." He did not see the real creature. He only heard rumors. But fear grows larger with every retelling. Miners gasped. Children hid behind their parents. Workers whispered that humanity had trained a monster to defend them. Everything became worse when the footage leaked. It spread across private networks, dark channels, pirate feeds, and alien gossip groups. The clip showed Mark Holden sitting calmly beside the creature. The camera zoomed in, trying to scan it. Then the image flashed white. The scanner sparked. The creature slowly lifted its head, and its blue eyes glowed like twin suns. People watching the video swore the creature looked directly into their souls. Governments panicked. Military leaders called emergency meetings. Religious groups declared the creature a sign of the end. Scientists across the galaxy demanded samples, data, anything, but humans refused to respond. Every alien wanted answers, and every alien feared what those answers might be. Back on the human ship, Mark Holden sat cross-legged on the floor beside the creature. He called him Soul, a name that meant light. Soul watched the stars outside the window as quietly as a sleeping child. But his glowing eyes reflected more intelligence than any normal being. He studied everything, every movement, every minor detail around him. Mark sighed. They're scared of you now. Soul tilted his head. Should they be? Mark looked at him carefully. No, but they don't know that. And fear makes people dangerous. Sol blinked. You were not afraid when you found me. I was, Mark admitted. But I still helped you. That's the difference. Sol's glowing lines pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat. He remembered the day Mark discovered him, broken, abandoned in a ruined lab on a dead moon. Mark carried him out despite the danger, despite the warnings, despite the unknown risks. No one else had ever done that. You saved me, Sol whispered. Mark smiled. That's what humans do. But the moment of peace ended when an alarm beeped. Mark checked the controls. 3 alien ships were approaching fast. They're scanning us, Mark muttered. Trying to find you. Sol stood up, his body glowing slightly. Do you want me to hide? No, Mark said firmly. You're not a weapon. You're not a secret project. You're not a monster. You're a person. And I won't treat you like anything less. Outside, the alien ships moved closer, surrounding them like hunters. Inside, Sol's blue eyes sharpened. He didn't want to fight. He didn't want to scare anyone, but he knew something humans didn't. These aliens weren't coming for peace. And if they tried to take Mark, Sol would show the galaxy exactly why they should never have called him a pet. When the 3 alien ships surrounded the human cargo vessel, the air inside grew tight like a held breath. Mark Holden watched the flashing red lights on the control panel. He knew this was not a friendly visit. The aliens wanted answers, and they were ready to use force to get them. Sol stood near the window, his blue eyes glowing softly, watching the ships move closer. His calm expression didn't match the growing tension. But a small pulse of light traveled down the silver lines on his skin, a sign Mark now recognized as worry. They will board us, Sol said quietly. Mark turned sharply. How do you know? Sol touched the metal wall. Tiny sparks formed around his fingers. They are charging weapons. That means pressure tactic, not full attack. Yet, Mark repeated with a sigh. That's what scares me. Before Mark could respond, a loud voice echoed through the ship's speakers. This is Captain Vare of the Threxian Guard, human engineer. Surrender your specimen. We will not harm you if you comply. Mark clenched his fists. Specimen. Of course. Sol's glowing eyes narrowed. I do not like that word. The doors suddenly shook as magnetic clamps locked on from outside. Boots clanged on metal. The aliens were already boarding. Mark inhaled sharply and stepped in front of Sol. No matter what happens, Mark whispered, don't attack unless you have no choice. They already fear you. Sol tilted his head. Why is fear bad? Because fear leads to war, Mark said. And war makes everyone suffer. Even you. The doors slid open. Captain Vare entered with 4 armed soldiers. They wore thick armor and carried pulse rifles trained directly at Sol. But when they approached, something strange happened. The rifles began buzzing. Lights flickered. A soldier cursed when his weapon overheated and shut down completely. Sol didn't move. He only watched them, eyes glowing brighter with every step they took. Vare raised a hand. Hold position. Do not advance. Mark lifted his chin. You're scaring him. Back off. He is scaring us, Vare replied coldly. We have never seen a creature like this. Your people claim it is harmless, but we have evidence it affects technology. That is not a pet. That is a danger. Sol's voice echoed through the ship, soft but clear. I am not a danger. The aliens froze. Every rifle dropped, every soldier stared, and Captain Vare stepped back as if struck, for the first time since he was created. Sol spoke out loud to strangers. One soldier whispered, trembling, It talks. Sol stepped forward. Yes, I talk. I listen. I learn. Mark smiled slightly. Told you he wasn't a threat. Captain Vare stuttered. This is impossible. No being can. No creature should. Sol tilted his head. Why do you call me creature? Why do you call me pet? You look at me like I am something small. But I am not small. His voice was calm, gentle, but every word made the air feel heavier. A soldier fell to his knees. Overwhelmed. Mark stepped beside Sol. He's a person. His name is Sol, and he doesn't belong to anyone. Captain Vare swallowed hard. Where did he come from? Tell us the truth. Sol spoke before Mark could. I was created by your people. The room fell into dead silence. Mark stared at Sol in shock. You never told me that. I did not know until now, Sol whispered. His glowing lines pulsed rapidly. Their arrival woke old memories. Captain Vare's face paled. Impossible. We abandoned that project centuries ago. Sol looked directly into his eyes, and every alien felt a cold wave move through their bodies. You abandoned us, Sol said softly. We were made to fight. Made to die. But I survived. I escaped. And he, Sol touched Mark's shoulder gently, saved me. Mark's chest tightened. He never imagined Sol carried such pain. Captain Vare shook his head. No, you should not exist. You were never meant to live this long. Sol's eyes darkened. But I do live. And I chose humans. Because they treated me with kindness. A pulse of energy rippled around Sol. Lights flickered again. The aliens backed away quickly, fear rising once more. Mark lifted both hands. Everyone calm down. Sol isn't attacking you. He's remembering his past, that's all. Captain Vare steadied himself. We must take him. He is too dangerous. No, Mark said firmly. You can't take him. He belongs to us. Vare shouted. Sol's voice dropped to a deep, cold tone. I belong to no one. The air pressure spiked. The alien soldiers stumbled, gripping their helmets. Alarms screamed inside their suits. The metal floor vibrated like something alive. Mark grabbed Sol's arm. Stop, you don't need to prove anything. Sol blinked, and the pressure vanished instantly. The soldiers gasped for breath. Captain Vare stared at Sol with a mix of dread and awe. You stopped on command. No, Sol replied. I stopped because he asked me. Humans give me choice. You gave me chains. Vare lowered his weapon slowly. He understood. Fighting was useless. The creature was something far beyond them, something they made, something humanity healed, and something they would never control again. Without another word, the aliens retreated. Leaving Mark and Sol alone in the dim corridor, Mark whispered, You spoke today. And now the whole galaxy will want to know who you really are. Sol's glowing eyes softened. Then they will learn. He stepped closer to the window, watching the alien ships flee. And they will fear what they created. But they will fear humanity even more. Asterisk, the alien ships fled like frightened birds, leaving the human cargo vessel floating alone in silence. Mark stood beside Sol, staring at the empty radar screen. His heart still pounded from the confrontation, but Sol looked calm again, as if the storm inside him had passed. Mark rubbed his forehead. Sol, did you really come from them? From the Threxians? Sol stared at his own hands, the silver lines glowing faintly. I did not remember before. But when the captain spoke, something inside me woke up. What kind of memories? Mark asked softly. Sol closed his glowing eyes. Pain, fear, darkness. I remember white rooms. Cold metal tables. Voices ordering me to stand, to kneel, to fight. Mark felt his stomach twist. He gently touched Sol's shoulder. You're not there anymore. You're safe. Sol opened his eyes again. I know. Because of you. That moment hung in the air until a loud beep broke it. The ship's console blinked with a new message. Mark walked forward and pressed the button. A hologram popped up, an official Human Council badge. Mark stiffened. Human Command was calling. That meant trouble. A calm voice came through the speakers. Engineer Mark Holden, your recent encounter with Threxian forces has been recorded. Return to Earth immediately. Mark blinked. Return? Why? What's going on? We need to review your companion, the voice said flatly. Bring the creature with you. Mark stepped away from the controls. His face changed. They want you too. Sol lowered his head. Do they want to help me? Mark didn't answer because he wasn't sure. Hours later, the cargo ship landed in a hidden underground hangar on Earth. Armed human officers surrounded the vessel, forming a tight circle. But their weapons were lowered, not raised. Humans were cautious, but not hostile. Mark and Sol walked down the ramp together. The officers stared at Sol with curiosity, not fear. Sol stood tall, glowing slightly, and no one dared move too close. A woman in a white lab coat stepped forward. Her face was calm but serious. Welcome back, Engineer Holden. I am Dr. Amina Rowe. Mark nodded. You're the one who sent the recall order? Yes, she said, eyes studying Sol carefully. Because you brought back something humanity has been searching for. Sol tilted his head. Searching for me? Dr. Rowe nodded slowly. For your origin. For your truth. For your purpose. Mark raised his voice. He's not a test subject. Don't treat him like some machine. Dr. Rowe smiled faintly. Relax, Mark. We aren't here to hurt him. We're here because we already knew pieces of his story. Just not the whole truth. She waved her hand, signaling them to follow her. Inside the research facility, Dr. Rowe led them to a cold metallic room, filled with floating holographic screens. Mark stopped when he saw the first image on the wall. A young Sol, smaller, thinner, lying on a metal table. Tubes were connected to his body. His eyes were dim. His silver lines flickered weakly. Sol froze. Mark whispered, "These are old videos of you?" Dr. Rowe nodded. Yes, these files were stolen from the Threxians decades ago. We always knew they were building something. Something living. Something powerful. But we didn't know you survived. Sol stepped closer, his eyes locked on the hologram. That is me. But not me. You were a prototype, Dr. Rowe explained gently. Not a child. Not a soldier. A weapon designed to evolve. They created other versions too. Sol turned sharply. Others? Dr. Rowe pressed a button. More holograms floated up. Faces similar to Sol, some glowing differently, some stronger, some weaker. Some dead, some missing. The images felt like memories that had been locked away inside him. Sol stepped back. Trembling slightly, Mark placed a hand on his back. Sol, look at me. You're not a weapon anymore. You're not their creation. You're your own person. Sol breathed slowly, trying to calm the storm inside him. Dr. Rowe continued. The Threxians abandoned the program when they lost control. They feared what you would become. But humans, we wanted to help any survivors, not own them. She looked at Sol with soft eyes. You're not our pet. You're not our experiment. You're our responsibility. Sol blinked slowly. Responsibility? Yes, Dr. Rowe said. Because you're alive. And because you chose us. Mark nodded. You chose me. And I'm not letting anyone take that from you. Sol looked between them, Mark's determined face, Dr. Rowe's gentle understanding, and something inside him settled for the first time. A feeling he couldn't name. Something like belonging, but the peace didn't last. Sharp alarm suddenly echoed through the facility. A red warning flashed on the wall. Unidentified ships detected entering Earth's atmosphere. Remark's heart dropped. Threxians? Dr. Rowe's face hardened. No, worse. A faction called the Rackham Syndicate. Sol stepped forward, eyes glowing bright again. They are coming for me. Mark grabbed Sol's arm. No one has taken you. Dr. Rowe turned to them, voice firm. Then get ready. Because this time... They're not panicked, she swallowed hard. They're hunting. The alarm echoed through the underground facility like a heartbeat made of metal, fast, loud, and full of danger. Red lights flashed across the walls, and every officer in the room rushed into formation. Mark grabbed Sol's arm as the message repeated. Rackham Syndicate ships detected. Prepare for impact. Sol looked up at the ceiling, his glowing eyes narrowing. They are not here to talk. Mark ran his hand through his hair. The Syndicate only comes for one thing. Power. They must know what you are. Dr. Rowe quickly typed into a console, opening a live feed of the approaching enemy fleet. Sleek dark ships, shaped like blades, cut through the sky in a terrifying formation. Each one carried enough firepower to level a city. Mark felt his stomach twist. They brought a war fleet for one person? Sol corrected softly, not for a person. For what they believe I am. Dr. Rowe faced Sol. They want to capture you. They think they can control you. Sol didn't move, but the silver lines on his skin brightened. I will not let them. The facility shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. Officers scrambled to secure doors. The Syndicate had begun their attack. Within minutes, the facility's outer defenses were engaged. Humans, trained soldiers, fired upward turrets. The sky above Earth turned into a violent storm of laser fire. Mark pulled Sol behind, a support pillar as explosions rattled the air. Stay down. Mark shouted. Sol didn't flinch. They are testing the defenses. They will break through soon. Dr. Rowe nodded grimly. He's right. The Syndicate always probes first. A sudden explosion tore open the hangar door. Wind screamed into the room as a massive Rackham soldier stepped through the fire. His armor was thick, glowing with red veins, and his eyes burned with an unnatural hunger. Mark whispered, They sent a berserker. Berserkers were the Syndicate's strongest fighters, half organic, half machine. Designed only for violence. The berserker roared, shaking the walls, and stomped towards Sol. Mark stepped forward. Stop, he's not going with you. The berserker snarled, raising a massive arm, ready to crush Mark like an insect. Before the blow landed, the air shifted. A soft hum filled the room, then Sol moved, not fast. Not violently. Just one step forward. But that one step changed everything. A wave of energy rippled from Sol. Invisible but powerful. The berserker's armor sparked violently as if struck by lightning. His arm froze mid-swing. His body trembled. Sol lifted a single hand. The glowing lines along his arm brightened. And the berserker collapsed to his knees with a heavy crash. Mark blinked in shock. Sol, what did you do? I spoke to the machine inside him, Sol answered calmly. It listened to me. The berserker struggled, roaring helplessly as his systems locked. His red eyes flickered between fear and disbelief. Dr. Rowe stared, speechless. You can control hybrid systems? Sol nodded. I understand them. They were built using the same energy that created me. Mark placed a hand on Sol's shoulder. You saved my life. Sol looked at him with soft glowing eyes. I protect those I choose. But the moment wasn't over. A second explosion ripped through the roof. More Syndicate fighters descended with metallic wings, claw units, fast and deadly. They swooped into the facility, firing at everything that moved. Mark grabbed Sol's wrist. We need cover. Sol didn't follow. Instead, he stepped forward. Facing the descending claw units, one fighter shot a sharp energy spike toward Soul. The moment the spike touched the air near Soul, it dissolved into dust. Another shot a burning plasma beam. Soul raised his hand slightly. The beam curved upward, hitting the ceiling harmlessly. Soldiers stopped firing and stared with wide eyes. Dr. Rowe whispered, "He's bending energy." Soul spoke, his voice echoing, "I do not want to hurt you. But if you attack this place, I will stop you." The claw units ignored the warning and dived toward him. Soul closed his eyes. The lights in the room flickered. A deep humming sound grew louder and louder, then a burst of shimmering blue light expanded from Soul like a wave of calm water. It wasn't explosive. It didn't burn. It didn't kill. It simply shut down every piece of Syndicate technology in its path. The claw units crashed to the floor, powerless. Their wings folded. Their weapons died. Silence filled the hangar. Every human officer stared at Soul with awe. One whispered, "He disabled them without hurting anyone." Dr. Rowe's voice trembled with amazement. "It's a non-lethal energy override. He disabled everything hostile." Mark smiled softly. "That's who he is." Soul turned to him. "Did I do well?" Mark placed his hand proudly on Saul's shoulder. "You did perfectly." But outside, in orbit, the largest Syndicate ship powered up its main cannon. A cannon designed to destroy entire bases. Dr. Rowe looked at the screen, horror filling her eyes. "They are preparing a full planetary strike." Mark grabbed Saul's arm tightly. "Soul, can you stop something that big?" Soul looked up at the blazing sky. His glowing eyes dimmed with sadness. "I don't know," he whispered. "But I will try. For you." The facility shook again as the cannon charged, and the galaxy was about to witness the true limit of what Soul could do, or if he even had a limit at all. Sky above the Earth base glowed a violent red as the Rakan Syndicate's main cannon charged. The sound was low at first, like a distant storm. Then it grew deeper, louder, until every human officer felt it shaking their bones. Mark stared at the screen in horror. This was not an attack meant to capture Soul anymore. This was an attack meant to erase him. Erase the base. Erase anything that tried to protect him. Dr. Rowe whispered. "Pale, if they fire that cannon, the shockwave will level half this region." Mark turned to Soul, who stood calmly in the center of the hangar. His glowing blue eyes reflected the burning sky above, but there was no fear in them. Only a quiet sadness. "Soul," Mark said, gripping his shoulder, "listen to me. You don't have to fight. We can escape. We can run." Soul shook his head gently. "If I run, they will destroy others. They will hunt me across the galaxy. I cannot let them hurt your people because of me." "But you can't stop something that strong," Mark shouted. "I do not know," Soul replied softly. "But I know I must try." The humans scrambled around him, bringing up shields and activating emergency barriers. But everyone knew none of it would matter. That cannon wasn't designed for battles, it was designed for annihilation. Soul stepped into the center of the hangar as the ceiling doors opened fully, revealing the burning streaks of enemy ships in orbit. Dr. Rowe touched Mark's arm. "Watch him. Something is happening." Soul closed his eyes. The silver lines on his skin brightened until they glowed like molten metal. Energy pulsed through the air around him, waves of soft blue light spreading across the floor. Every human felt the warmth of it, gentle, like a protective blanket. Outside, the Syndicate cannon reached peak charge. A long beam of crimson energy shot downward, aimed directly at the base. Mark's heart stopped. Dr. Rowe screamed, "Soul!" The beam struck, but it never touched the ground. It froze in midair. Like time itself had paused. Humans stared with open mouths. The beam hung above the facility, Trapped inside a shimmering bubble of blue light, Soul stood beneath it. One hand raised, eyes glowing so brightly that even Mark had to shield his face. The energy inside the bubble twisted, trying to break free, crackling with violent force. But Soul held it in place with a calm that didn't match the impossible power he was using. Mark stumbled closer. "Soul, are you okay?" Soul didn't answer. He pushed his other hand upward. The beam began to bend. Slowly, painfully. Mark saw Saul's fingers shaking. His legs trembled. The glowing lines on his skin flickered like a candle in a storm, but he kept pushing. The red beam tilted upward, until finally, with a thunderous roar, the cannon's energy reversed direction and shot back into the sky. It struck the Syndicate's own warship. The explosion lit up the sky like a second sun. Every enemy ship spiraled into chaos. Their engines died. Their formations shattered. Some fled. Some didn't escape in time. Soul fell to his knees. Mark rushed to him. Saul, look at me." Saul's eyes dimmed to a weak glow. "I did not want to destroy them." "You didn't," Mark said quickly. "You defended yourself. You protected everyone. You did what you had to do." Dr. Rowe ran diagnostics with shaking hands. His energy output spiked beyond any recorded level. His core, it's exhausted. "He needs rest," Soul whispered. "Did I save you?" Mark held his face gently. "You saved all of us." Humans gathered around, some kneeling, some gripping their chests in disbelief. But something else happened too. The world was watching. Every major alien empire tuned into the broadcast. The footage of Soul stopping a planet-killer cannon spread instantly across the galaxy. For the first time, aliens weren't afraid of Soul alone. They were afraid of the alliance between Soul and humanity, a being created to be a weapon. Choosing humans. Protecting humans. Calling humans his family. Alien generals trembled. Alien rulers froze. Alien scientists whispered, "Humans have bonded with the strongest creation in the galaxy." Some called for war. Others called for surrender. But one thing was clear. The galaxy had a new power. A frightening, unexpected power. An alliance that no empire could challenge. Mark held Soul in his arms as soldiers cleared debris. Soul whispered, half conscious, "They will come again. Stronger." Mark nodded. "Then we'll face them together." Dr. Rowe placed a hand on Saul's shoulder. "You're not alone anymore. Humanity stands with you." Saul's eyes flickered gently, warmed by something more powerful than energy. Belonging. Trust. Family. But deep in the void of space, a new signal pulsed, cold, mechanical, ancient. Someone else had witnessed Saul's power, someone even more dangerous than the Syndicate. And they were coming. The world celebrated Saul's victory, but Mark felt no relief. He sat beside Saul's resting form inside the medical chamber, watching the soft glow return slowly to Saul's silver lines. Outside, the base was alive with cheers, speeches, reporters, and excited scientists, but inside the room, everything felt heavy and quiet. Mark held Saul's hand gently. "You did more than anyone ever could. You saved Earth." Soul blinked, his soft blue eyes open. "Are the people safe?" Mark smiled. "Because of you, yes." Before Soul could respond, Dr. Rowe rushed into the room, her face pale with fear. "Mark! So we have a problem." Mark stood up immediately. "What now?" Dr. Rowe activated a hologram in the center of the room. Dozens of alien signals pulsed across the screen. "Not Syndicate. Something else. These ships didn't attack," she said, trembling. "They didn't fire. They didn't threaten. They're just watching." Soul slowly sat up. "Who are they?" Dr. Rowe inhaled sharply. "The ancient empires. The ones older than the Threxians. The ones who created the galaxy's strongest technologies. They're calling themselves. She hesitated. The Makers. Mark frowned. Do they want Soul too? No, Dr. Rowe whispered. They want an answer. She pressed a button. A transmission filled the chamber. A voice echoed deep, layered, and powerful, not belonging to one person but thousands speaking at once, to the being called Soul. We witnessed your power. We created your ancestors. We seek to know one thing: who do you serve? The room fell silent. Mark swallowed hard. Soul, you don't have to answer them. Not if you don't want to. Soul stood, his posture steady, even though his energy was still weak. His eyes glowed brighter, filled with something new: confidence. I will answer, Soul said softly. Dr. Rowe opened the channel. A massive hologram filled the base's central chamber. Alien leaders from countless worlds. Each one ancient, each one older than human history. The air vibrated with their combined voices. Soul, you are the last of a creation we abandoned. You are stronger than your predecessors. You stopped the Syndicate's world cannon. You forced lesser empires to retreat. But power without loyalty creates destruction. So we ask again, who do you serve? Soldiers held their breath. Scientists froze. The entire Earth watched the broadcast. Billions waited. Soul stepped forward. His silver lines pulsed softly, not with anger or fear, but with pride. I serve no empire, Soul began. I serve no creator. The Makers watched silently. Soul turned his head toward Mark. I choose humanity. Gasps filled every room on Earth. Aliens watching from distant worlds felt a cold wave move through them. Soul continued, his voice deep and steady. Humans found me when I was dying. They gave me warmth, not chains. They gave me kindness, not commands. They treated me as a person, not a tool. They called me by a name, not a number. Every glowing line on Saul's body brightened like stars in motion. I choose humanity. Because humanity chose me first. The ancient beings remained silent for a long moment, a dangerous moment. Their response could mean peace, or endless war. Finally the Makers spoke. If you stand with humanity, then humanity now holds the greatest weapon we ever created. Mark stepped forward, anger flashing in his eyes. He's not a weapon. Soul raised a hand gently. Mark, it's all right. Then Soul faced the Makers once more. I am not a weapon, he said firmly. I protect because I want to, not because I was built to. The Makers' voices softened barely. Your choice is made. We cannot control you, but we will test the path you walk. A single enormous ship drifted into Earth's orbit, bigger than anything humanity had ever seen. Its shadow covered entire continents. Mark felt fear rise again. What are they doing? Dr. Rowe trembled. A trial. They want to see if Soul truly stands with us. The ancient ship charged a bright sphere of energy stronger than the Syndicate cannon, stronger than anything Soul had faced. Humans screamed. Bases scrambled. World leaders panicked. Mark grabbed Saul's hand. You don't have to do this alone. Soul looked at him gently. I am not alone. Blue light flowed from Saul's body, spreading across the hangar floor like a river. It reached Mark, then Dr. Rowe, then every human soldier present. Their weapons glowed. Their armor hummed. Their bodies felt lighter. Soul smiled faintly. Energy is not just power. It is sharing. He lifted both arms toward the sky. The Makers fired. Blinding beam tore through the atmosphere. But something new happened. Humans around Soul lifted their hands instinctively. Their weapons, their armor, their hearts, everything glowed with Saul's blue energy. Together, they created a shield made from human courage and Saul's ancient strength. The beam struck, the shield held, the earth shook. But it did not break. Silence fell. The beam faded, and the makers spoke once more. We understand now. The giant ship slowly turned away. You do not serve humanity. Humanity does not serve you. A pause. You stand together. And that. We will not challenge. One by one, alien ships across the galaxy powered down their weapons and knelt in peaceful formation. The galaxy had witnessed the impossible. A human and an ancient creation, standing side by side, not as master and weapon, not as owner and pet, but as equals. As family. Mark placed a hand on Saul's shoulder. So, what now? Saul's eyes glowed softly, filled with hope. Now, Saul said, we live. And for the first time in galactic history, the galaxy bowed to humanity, not because of fear, but because of who humanity chose to protect.